well, welcome again. Thank you so much for coming back to the second week of this course. It's just 4 weeks long, but it's kind of structured. And this in particular, I think, is for you, Paul, and in case I don't recollect if you were here last week, but I try and go over things. And if you've got any questions, just jump in, just raise your hand. That's what one of Nancy's many abilities is, to take the questions and stop me from talking so I can answer them. So let's see, what shall I say? Yeah, let me just show you what we're going to tackle tonight. Yeah, we're going to cover session 2 of 4. And I don't think okay, so I'll cover this for Paul's benefit, the introduction, and then we'll look at foundation for meditation. What is that? Like, what are just like the basic things you can do in order to make meditation work for you? And then we'll have and that'll include a meditation. Then we'll have some instruction, go over some of the benefits of meditation. How do you make it a habit? Because meditation's really easy to do, but it's also really easy, even easier to not do. So how do we get around that? And then we'll talk a little bit about the nature of the mind. This will give you just maybe a little bit of a Buddhist perspective on how they see the mind, how it works and what it's like and so on. But that's really just to give you background so you can understand some of the techniques and why we say certain things and do certain things. Again, this course is for anyone who has any interest, even the slightest curiosity in meditation, and just wants to try it out. There's no need to follow any Buddhist tenets or practices. Questions about them are welcome, but it's not at all structured that way. It's really just the basic nuts and bolts of meditation from a Buddhist style. After the instruction, we'll have our second practical, which is all based around mindfulness. And mindfulness here is the definition is it's kind of like a background ongoing awareness that is non-judgmental and just distanced from the thoughts that are going through the mind, kind of like a tourist might watch, I don't know, a town square in Italy, or a scientist might look at the behavior of animals in the jungle or something. So we'll talk about mindfulness, touch briefly on the bare attention exercise or the bare mindfulness exercise that we did last week. We'll go over it again. And then we'll do one of my favorite meditations is meditation on the mind, like the sky. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, I'll just open up the floor for any quick questions or requests. If not, I can go ahead with a fast intro. And I already introduced it really, so we're just going to look overall through this course. We're going to look at preparing for meditations, breathing meditations, the 2 fundamental skills, which are really, these are the key learnings for this course. The fundamental skill of concentration, which is just what it sounds like, placing the mind on whatever image or idea or topic that you want to place the mind on and not letting it leave. And then mindfulness, which, as I said before, was just sort of a background awareness or introspection on how your mind is actually working. We'll also do visualization meditations. We're going to do one today. There's analytical meditations. That's also known as reasoning or thinking or inference. And then making meditation a habit. We'll also cover that this lesson. And again, it's for complete beginners, and there's no requirement whatsoever for learning about Buddhism, and you don't need to be a Buddhist or meditate on specifically Buddhist topics. And the goal of the course is to give you a basic understanding and tools to develop your own meditation practice, and hopefully a consistent practice. we'll talk about that today. And this is the second of 4 classes. And they're going to be 90 minutes, a practice period and instruction, and then another practice period. And that's it. That's the intro. Now, last week, we covered these topics. We covered scanning the body meditation. And this is a preliminary meditation. And basically, it's just when we sit and begin calming the mind, we also have to relax the body. So it's a very basic, helpful meditation to begin with. We also looked at counting the breaths meditation. This is more of a concentration meditation. This really helps us tune our concentration. One point I made last week is that concentration is important not only on the meditation seat, but throughout our lives. And so this activity, this meditational practice, can often help us improve our concentration. Also last week, we did the bare attention or the bare mindfulness exercise. And that's where we backed off from concentration and focus, and then just began to observe what our mind was doing once we had settled it. And this is a mindfulness meditation. We talked about the 2 fundamental meditation skills, which I just covered, and also the 7-point meditation posture. And again, posture is considered very important because really the posture of your body changes, your internal energy. And if you want to have good energy for a meditation session, posture can support that. So of the 7 points, there's the legs and feet. We talked about the arms, the spine, which is really the most important, where it is upright and strong and supporting the rest of the body. The arms, again, can be placed any way you like. What's really important there is the shoulders should be downward and back a little bit. And I kind of imagine it like my scapulas are just sort of supporting my lungs and my heart, just like the center of my body a little bit. That really helps with the natural curve of the spine. The eyes, I suggest in the beginning that you just keep them closed, but as you get more practiced, you can actually have them slightly open. Whether they're closed or slightly open, it's a downward gaze. If you're sitting, maybe you could imagine you're looking 10 feet in front of if you're sitting on a chair, you're looking 10 feet in front of you on the floor. That's the angle of the eyes. Or if you're sitting on a cushion, it's maybe 6 feet in front of you or in front of you on the floor. So really, it's just a slight downward angle. Lips, jaw, teeth, and mouth. Well, basically, you just want to relax everything you can. Everything you don't need to hold the posture, you relax. And added to that is where you place the tongue, and it goes on the palate right behind the front teeth. And you can also have a gentle smile on your face. That helps with a positive attitude, relaxation, comfort, and so on. And then the head is slightly inclined forward with the chin gently pulled in. And this really is so your head isn't perched forward. You want to avoid that because that's kind of a stressful position, especially after a few minutes. You really want kind of the back line of your body to support your head. There's an 8th point that they never mention, at least I've never seen, and that is the breath. Well, what do you do there? So the breathing is through the nose. It's soft and quiet and natural. It's as soft as it can be. And that's kind of a clue that you're beginning to relax and beginning to calm and stabilize your mind. Your breath becomes more and more tranquil and quiet and soft. That's what we covered last week. Anyone want to make any comments or questions? It's totally optional. So we'll go next to our first practical. And really, this one is all about sitting and calming the mind. You remember I mentioned there are 4 parts. These meditations are structured into 4 parts. And the very first one is just sitting and calming the mind. So this is the preliminary practice. But it's also, a great way is if you're not comfortable sitting for like more than a few minutes, which is natural if you're beginning, or you might have other things going on like physical pain. It could be a whole variety of things. The best thing to do is just sit and calm your mind, even if it's only 5 minutes. I really believe that with meditation, you can do an excellent meditation in 5 or 10 minutes. But in order to really lock in those benefits, what you need to do is do it on a consistent basis. So 5 to 10 minutes a day, but every day. So in sitting and calming the mind, one way you can really support your success is to have a good setup. And what I mean by that is just that you've got your meditation spaces prepared and ready to go. So you can begin sitting quickly and easily, and you're already in a calm and pleasant environment. Sometimes things, it's life, right? And sometimes things get disorganized and disarray. You can actually use that as well as a preliminary, is just kind of tidying. Just helps like settle the mind and get you calmed down a little bit, because we all live in the real world and we don't always have the option to be calm all the time. So preparing the meditation seat and space so you can begin sitting just like that, just as soon as you get the idea of meditation. That takes overthink and delay and all of that out of the equation. So sitting and calming the mind, of course, is actually sitting. I talked about that in terms of consistency and preparation. And just if you're consistent and prepared, then the practice becomes a habit. And of course, there's the posture as well, which we just touched on. So sitting and calming the mind, we've actually covered 2 of the 3 meditations that are recommended in this course to calm the mind. The first was scanning the body. And that's again where we just sort of started at the bottom of our body and moved upward to the top and then back down again, just to see what was there. So it was a little bit of a concentration meditation, the first skill. It was a little bit of a concentration because we moved our point of focus very deliberately through our body into each of our body parts. But mainly it's mindfulness, because once we place our concentration there, we just kind of sit back and see, well, are my shoulders stiff? Did I have a tough day at work and my shoulders are way up here? Or, whatever else is going on, maybe like, I don't know, a sore elbow or a stiff back or something. So we use mindfulness to kind of analyze and observe what's going on there. And then we try and relax whatever parts are tense, and just kind of breathe in. That's another technique, is you can just imagine your breath going to, say, like a stiff back or a sore arm or something like that, and just kind of, healing it in your imagination. So that's scanning the body. The second one we did is counting the breaths. And it is more of a concentration meditation. This is the one we use to calm the mind, but also improve our concentration. And there, what we do is we breathe naturally, but after a cycle of in-breath and out-breath, we count 1. And then you go up to 10, and then you can start again. If you get distracted, you can always restart at 1. It's like whatever works for you, really. Sometimes people recommend counting up to 21, other times up to 10 and then backwards. However you want to do it, that you find is most helpful for you. And the idea is, first of all, to kind of notice a little bit how often your mind goes off the breath, how often your attention or your focus, your concentration leaves the breath. And it's okay. I mean, it can happen every second, every few seconds. And that's all right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you. The whole thing is just to get used to the pattern of focusing with your concentration, having your mindful awareness in the background, so that when your concentration begins to flag, the vividness or intensity of your concentration sort of flags, like I say, or you just go off, as I do, and think about something completely different. That's where your mindfulness catches this, and then it reminds you that you need to bring your concentration back to the object. And that whole pattern there, that whole cycle of concentrating, being mindful, capturing the moment when your attention leaves, and gently and non-judgmentally bringing it back, that is actually the meditation. That is actually the meditation work that we want to do. And as we do that over time and through consistency, we'll notice that we're able, under the right circumstances, to actually improve our concentration. And then finally, we're going to do the 9 rounds breathing meditation tonight. Okay, so if there are no questions, and again, optional, I'll guide you through the 9-round breathing meditation. Oh, I should mention that we did put up a link since last week, and we can thank Nancy for that. She is always on it. We put up a link so you can go to the website, to the page, and download all of the handouts that I'm going to talk about here. This is handout number 7, the 9-round breathing meditation. I think I'll make another quick point here that I do go through the meditations fairly quickly, really just to give you exposure to them, and then an opportunity to ask questions if you want. Again, it's optional. And also for me to give some commentary on the meditation. So you can take your time, and often if this were, if this were just like a weekly long-term meditation class, we would take, significantly more time with these meditations. If you want to see, like, I'm just a facilitator and a beginner meditator. If you want to see some real heavy-duty meditators, there's a lot of other programs on the website that you can go to and just try it out, see who you like. So this is the 9-round breathing meditation. It has nothing to do with golf. It's really just another simple breathing meditation. This meditation really is meant to help calm the mind for effective meditation. And it's used by beginners all the way through to very advanced practitioners use this technique. And I've, so many people recommend this as a great way just to help calm the mind and restabilize it. It starts with a simple visualization, but first I'm going to take you through the breathing mechanics of it, and then we'll add the visualization later once you get the breathing. And again, if you find the visualization meditation distracting, don't worry about it at all. Just focus on the breathing. So we will do, for example, scanning the body or counting the breaths at the beginning. But hey, it's your meditation session. You're allowed, if you're having difficulty, if you're finding your mind is flighty or disturbed, or if your mind is like really dull and sinking, that you can actually stop the meditation you've chosen and do one of these in order to kind of tune up your mental state. And really, that's a great skill to have. You don't have to do that whole 4-step meditation session. You can just, just calm your mind, which I think is a great practice. I've found it very helpful for me. So you can just stop where you are, do the 9-round breathing meditation, and then just pick up your regular meditation, the one you had planned or the one that you were in the middle of. Just pick that up where you left it off. Now, why is this meditation so effective? Well, there's so many things going on in our lives that take us away from our daily, that really, it takes a technique like this to really be able to set aside our daily thoughts and concerns and bring our attention inwards. So that's part of it here. There's several parts to this meditation. I think that's how I'll say it. And so that kind of occupies your mind. And when your mind is occupied, it's going to be less prone to being distracted. There's also a simple body visualization. We won't do it the first time, but the second time we do it tonight, we'll do the visualization. And that also occupies the mind and keeps stray thoughts away. Because, we're so, overstimulated, in modern society that we're kind of used to having all sorts of inputs. Part of this meditation is the breathing is regulated, extended, and directed downwards to the center of the body. You'll understand the meaning of that sentence once we do it. And then as our concentration follows the breath, it moves in a regular, repetitive, cyclical pattern, left, right, right, left, both. I'll explain that too in a second. And then we also, when we add in the visualization, the second time we do this tonight, we visualize that just kind of mental impurities. This just might be negative mental energy, unhelpful thoughts, anxieties, whatever, are expelled with the breath. And this is going to bring us feelings of relief, lightness, and calm. So that's kind of the argument why this meditation is especially effective. So I'll give you a quick demo. And you may have seen this. I've encountered like a variation of this meditation in yoga classes. And you may have seen it. And they have kind of a more elaborate way of kind of restricting the breath. But let me show you how to do it. So all you have to do is just hold your left nostril lightly closed with your index finger. You just touch it lightly, just to slightly restrict the air. And then you breathe in through the right. And then you transfer your finger and you breathe out through the left. And you repeat that 3 times. So in, out, in, out, in, out. I'm kind of exaggerating the movement of my head. You don't have to do that. And you just repeat that 3 times. And that's 3 of the 9 rounds. And then all you do after that is you just reverse the process. So you keep your finger on your right nostril and then breathe in through the left and out through the right. In through the left, out through the right. In through the left, out through the right. Okay, and that is the second third of the rounds. And then finally, you just simply breathe in through both nostrils and breathe out through both nostrils. And you repeat that 3 times. So that's the 9 rounds breathing meditation, just from the breathing perspective. So we'll go ahead and do that. And again, that kind of explains, you're concentrating, you're following the breath coming in and then out. So again, just to repeat, you start by breathing in on the right side and out through the left. Do that 3 times. In through the left side, out through the right, 3 times, and then through both nostrils 3 times. They say that I can sometimes think I can do this, but they say that more practiced meditators don't even need to use their finger to close a nostril. They can just imagine breathing, kind of feel it go through, like one sinus and then out through the other. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just turn off my camera and continue instructing the 9-round breathing meditation without the visualization. I'll just turn my camera off so that there's no one staring at you and you can just meditate in peace. So again, this is a very helpful technique for relaxing the body and mind before developing meditative concentration on any topic, or even in the middle of a meditation. So start by calming the mind. We learned how to do this last week. Just focus your attention on your breathing. Whether you feel like you need or you want to scan the body, it's up to you. That might be the best way for you to begin to calm your mind. It's our first meditation for tonight, so maybe that's what we want to do. Or you can just count your breaths. We'll do that for just a moment or two. In terms of meditation posture, there's one thing you're going to focus on. Focus on your spine. Just make sure it's upright and strong in a natural curve. But if you can, imagine, there's energy going through it. And physically, it's strongly supporting the rest of your body so you can relax everywhere else. The second part of a classical meditation session is to make a motivation. And this is just where we kind of build a little bit of energy and resolve and direction for what we're going to do. So here, 9-round breathing meditation, we're going to learn it and just experiment for ourselves how it works for us in the way of calming our mind. So I'll just call out the instructions again. If I get ahead or behind you, just don't worry about it and just do it as best you can remember. So holding the left nostril closed with an index finger, inhale slowly and fully through the right nostril. Imagine that the breath flows from the right into the left nostril as you move your index finger to hold the right nostril closed. Now exhale slowly and fully through the left nostril. You may have already done that several times. As the breath leaves the left nostril, imagine that all impurities are expelled with the breath. These are mental impurities. When you've done that 3 times, breathing through the right nostril and out through the left, then we just reverse. Holding the right nostril closed with your index finger, breathe in deeply through the left nostril, sending the breath all the way down. You can think of sending it down to your belly, even below your diaphragm. You could imagine that. As the breath moves into the right channel, move your index finger to hold the left nostril closed. Exhale slowly and fully through the right nostril. Again, as the breath leaves the right nostril, imagine that all impurities are expelled with the breath. You may already have done that 3 times. You can do it a few more. But when you're done, we now remove our index finger altogether and inhale slowly and deeply through both nostrils, sending the air down through the right and left, down into the belly. And as you exhale, imagine that the breath is expelled up and out. As you breathe out, imagine that you're expelling all impurities out through the point between your 2 brows. And we repeat that 2 more times. So now you can imagine that you are completely purified. Your mind is calm. If at the end of the 9 rounds, though, you find that your mind is still scattered and distracted, just repeat it again. And you can keep doing as many sets as you want to do until your mind begins to settle. And this can be used either at the beginning of a meditation or during a meditation. And when we're complete, we do the 4th step of the classical meditation session is we dedicate. We just kind of step back and appreciate what we did, learned a new meditation maybe calmed our mind a little bit, maybe found that it was helpful. Well, that's the end of the meditation. Hello, Emily. It's good to see you. Welcome. Questions, comments? Was that clear on how to do the breathing portion? Excellent. We will come back to that in a little bit. I think first we'll do just a quick break. I've been talking a lot, and maybe you just want to just take a break, just get up, get a glass of water, move around. So I'll put on the timer, and we'll take 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Well, we'll begin our instruction. And we're going to start by talking a little bit, really touching the same topics as we did last week on the benefits of meditation. I'm really just going to touch on them, as I said, because just as a reminder, it's important for us to kind of, in a way, brainwash ourselves a little bit, or at least, revisit the reasons why we're doing this so that we can maintain motivation. Some of the benefits of meditation, well, three of the main ones is just the temporary release from stress and confusion of our daily activities that builds up throughout the day. And you can check up for yourself, how do you feel after doing, say, the 9 rounds breathing meditation, or maybe, even just sitting and scanning the body. How do you feel after that? The second one is, I mentioned this earlier, the skills we develop in meditation, especially concentration and mindfulness, are really helpful in just about any situation we encounter in our daily lives when we're off the meditation seat. So not only do they help us, when we're meditating, they'll also help us with other types of practices, or even just interacting with people or whatever during the day. Third one is meditation lets us calmly and clearly examine and understand and train our minds from within. So that is more kind of using the mindfulness skill, but in order to get to a level of mindfulness, we need to stabilize the mind, and that's where concentration helps us. As we calm and concentrate our mind, then it becomes easier to pop into what is sometimes called the observer state of mind. That's where we're still engaging and we're still having thoughts and emotions and reactions and so on, but we also have the ability to step out of that and not let those rule us, but instead to be a little bit more, taking a little bit more choice in terms of what our mind entertains and what our mind excludes. So the observer state of mind that I just mentioned really allows us to de-identify from arising thoughts. What de-identify means is not to let strong emotions that are perhaps not helpful take over our mind, but to be able to step back and just simply watch them. And we do this all the time. It's just that here in this meditation practice, we do it deliberately. We have meditations that are especially tailored in order to help us improve this skill that we may already have. It may be highly developed in many of you. So the observer state of mind, that is, I sometimes use the analogy of a tourist or a scientist, allows us to de-identify from arising thoughts and emotions and just simply watch them, and allows us to make choices to choose between negative thoughts and emotions and positive ones. When you look at negative emotions, sometimes it's like just a little spark. And then if it's left untended, it grows and grows and grows, and it turns into a forest fire. So the idea is just simply to be aware of that and try and cut it off early when it's still possible, instead of letting it grow into something that's out of control. There's a traditional analogy that kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Like, the mind is like an elephant. It's like an out of control rogue elephant that's running through this village, and it's knocking over huts and trampling people and all of that. And the whole trick here is to tame that elephant out of its natural state using sort of the leash of concentration, which sort of restricts the elephant's movement, and kind of the goad of mindfulness or introspection to guide it. So we can choose to engage with and cultivate the positive thoughts and attitudes that arise. And then through just mere habituation, those become more common and more easily accessible in our minds. And then meditation really, ideally, what it should do for us is provide the possibility of choice in everyday life. So that with the skills we develop in meditation, we can choose in any given situation, whether we respond positively or negatively. And if our negative mental habits are left unchecked, they simply have us under their control. And it's almost like we're puppets or something like that. And we have little choice at all. And I'm certainly familiar with that. Perhaps you are too. So the idea behind this meditation practice is to give us space and choice, give us the opportunity to take responsibility for our life and experiences. So that's kind of just I guess it's a little bit of a pep talk on meditation and what potentially it could do for you. But of course, we need to approach it consistently, and that's all about making meditation a habit. First, we should just maybe talk about what a habit is. I think we all kind of know, but from kind of a scientific perspective, it's actually a loop that has 3 steps to it. There's a cue, which is a trigger that triggers the habit or automatic mode. Sometimes it's called a routine as well. It could be like it can be anything really. It could be like the environment, it could be the context, it could be some kind of situation that reminds you of a situation you had in the past that caused, maybe a great deal of suffering for you. So there's a cue, and that's something we need to be aware of. And then that causes the brain to go into what's called the automatic mode and perform the routine part of the habit. And the routine part is really, again, it's very general. It's either a physical, mental, or emotional behavior pattern that is triggered by the cue. And then finally, there's a reward, which determines if the loop is worth remembering and repeating. So sometime in the beginning, the dawn of every habit we had some kind of situation that was salient to us. We did something, and then we got a reward from that. And then gradually that got built in as an automatic pattern. So the cue and reward become intertwined. So we see the cue and we immediately, our brain jumps to thinking about the reward, whether it's actually going to appear or not. We just associate the cue with the reward, and then our brain automatically executes that routine, the routine part of the habit. So the cue and reward sort of go together until we have a very powerful, almost insurmountable sense of anticipation and craving. And that's what gives habits their power.
Isn't that called Pavlovian?
I believe so. I think that's a great comment, Glenn. It's like, this is psychology. I got this out of not really a psychology text. It was like a, pop culture text on habits. But yeah, you're right. This is a Pavlovian response. And we can see it every day, but it's also, to extend your comment, Glenn, it's also the way the brain saves energy. It's like, of all of the organs in our body, it's our brain that uses the most energy. So if we're always thinking, if we're always in a new situation, trying to come up with a new analysis and just figure out, what do I need to do in this situation? We'll end up the day exhausted. I mean, you might have experienced that. Say you go to a different country where the customs are all different, or, you're doing something new. It's exhausting because you haven't built up those habits. So there's a reason for habits. Whether a habit is good or bad really comes down to, is what you're doing either appropriate for the situation, or does it end up either helping you or harming you at the end? And that's really what distinguishes good habits from bad habits. It could just be related to the context or what you actually do. So we use that understanding, and that's something that you can use, hopefully throughout your life, and even just observe this. But we can use it in developing our meditation habit, because I said at the beginning of the class, meditation is really easy. You just basically sit down on your meditation seat and start, breathing and watching the breath. But it's also really, really hard to maintain a consistent practice. Our minds get so busy, and there's so many lists, so many checklists that we have to go through, and so many things in our lives. It's really easy just to not take the time. So we want to, again, instead of having to think about it, we want it to make it a habit. So one way to support that is to build, if you're building a new habit, is to base it off an existing habit. And so that's why I say, when you meditate, find a regular time in your existing daily routine, that is your habitual routine, where meditation kind of fits in naturally and easily. Sometime where you're already like a little bit contemplative, could be in the morning, evening. I leave it up to you as to the actual timing. So here you're building a chain of habits, and in a way, it's kind of context setting. So if you have an existing established habit, that can represent the initial context for your cue for your meditation habit. You want to make it easy to practice by preparing a calm and pleasant meditation setting ahead of time. So again, you're not overthinking. You don't have to think about it. As soon as that idea arises, or maybe the cue arises, you can just go to your meditation space and just sit down. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It just has to be easy and quick. Just go and sit down and begin meditating. You also want to start really small and simple. So it's easy to do, and it's not kind of like a big thing. Okay, I'm going to meditate for 90 minutes because I missed the last 3 sessions. That is probably not the best thing to do. So just start really small and simple, just a few minutes at first, and focus on calming your mind. Because I feel, this is me personally, you may not find the same thing. Our minds are all different. But I find just focus on calming the mind. And then as you get, and that will give you like this immediate feedback loop of like a pleasurable situation. Remember, that's the reward, is just sitting and calming the mind. And then gradually, you can bring in meditations you find easy and rewarding. Again, that's that key term in the habit loop. I like calming because it's a micro habit that can help you when starting a full-on meditation habit, restarting a practice, or just something that can really help just throughout the day. So it's like an on-ramp to a full meditation session. It's easy to do. You'll feel better almost immediately, and it's pleasurable. So you can anticipate it for the next time. And that's what we talked about in the habit loop, is that combination of cue and reward creates anticipation and then craving to do whatever the habit has as its routine. And then really at the end of each session, you want to finish it on a good note. We call this, it's called dedication. But really, we're just finishing the session on a good note to appreciate any calmness, relaxation. Sometimes meditation sessions aren't calm or relaxing. It can depend on the events of the day or, just your mental state, what comes up. But it still represents an experience of self-discovery. And you can think of it as personal development. And so when you think of it, either appreciating calmness and relaxation, having an experience of self-discovery, personal development, that gives you the reward, and you kind of are hacking the brain at this point. You're bringing up the rewarding feelings and accomplishments to reinforce that habit loop. Just to really, yeah, and so one piece of advice is to avoid setting too many expectations. You want to be, especially when you're beginning a meditation practice, you want to be non-judgmental, accepting, engaged, and curious about your experiences as you develop your meditation habit. Why I say that is you don't want to sabotage yourself by having too high expectations. I mean, for me, even just sitting for 5 minutes on a daily basis is truly amazing. And I think that is the kind of the fundamental basis of starting a meditation practice. And so you want to end up with, a good feeling about doing that, a self-congratulatory feeling. So that's why you don't want to have too many expectations and beat yourself up. I could only get to, on counting the breaths, I could only get to 2. That was the highest number I could get to. I could only count 2 breaths before I got distracted. Well, avoid setting expectations in that area. You do want to have expectations because in the end, this is a deliberate practice. We do have goals, and this sort of is what I talked about in the motivation section. We do have goals, some goal of self-improvement, self-discovery, relief from stress. We want relaxation and so on. So it's not just meditation is, in this particular style, is not just kind of daydreaming on a seat or on a cushion. So that's how you kind of use some basic psychology in order to support meditation and make it a habit. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Well, I'll just give you a little bit of the philosophy behind the nature of the mind. And this is sort of like I kind of tried to put some ideas about the way the mind works from Buddhism into just plain English. And this is just my take on it. There's a lot of other different ways to look at it as well. But we can always, I think we can observe for ourselves, and you're recommended to just check up on anything I say and just see for yourself, experience it for yourself. But I find that the thoughts that we think and how we engage with them can often make us feel better or worse, depending on which ones we dwell on and the perspective we take in doing so. So if we're always dwelling on, negative thoughts about difficulties and challenges and frustrations, they exist, definitely. But if we're always dwelling on them, then that's going to kind of color our mind, and also vice versa. So in this way, the mind is often the source of our experiences of happiness and discontent, and not so much the outside world. So in a way, again, we can definitely have genuine frustrations or difficulties or problems in the outside world, but often when we think about them and let them grow in our mind, it can make them twice as bad, 100 times as bad as they really are. So what we can do is try and change the thoughts we entertain and the perspectives we take. But of course, our existing habits of thought can be very strong. I kind of mentioned that with the habit loop and the way the brain will go in automatic mode. And the brain itself has a strong motivation to go into automatic mode. It's to save energy. And if we're already depleted, exhausted, tired, then it's going to be even easier for us just to take the default pattern, even if it is of no help to us altogether. We can also notice that when problem emotions come up, like irritation, frustration, like anger, jealousy, greed, pride, they distort the situation we're in and trick us into the wrong conclusions. We end up doing things we regret later. And we certainly don't feel good when we have these problem emotions. When you really look at it, how uncomfortable we feel, again, using perhaps the skill of mindfulness, how problematic these emotions can be. Now, hey, if we could just like snap our fingers, just use pure willpower to try and change our emotions, well, I mean, that would be wonderful. But I don't think just willpower, just willing ourselves is very difficult to do. Because again, we're trying to burn all this energy to change our habits. And they're designed to save energy. And we can also notice that our everyday emotional, distracted, excited mind, overstimulated mind is really not so good for becoming aware of what's happening in our mind and for really focusing on changing it. But here is where we can turn things around. If we can be aware of what's going on in our mind, that is to be mindful of it, this is really the first step in any transformation, just simple awareness of what's happening. Then, when we're aware of it and we have a little bit of distance, we can step back and observe, like a scientist or a tourist, for example, backing off from our habitual thoughts and emotions, identifying the cues and contexts. Those are going to be all unique to each of us, but the cues and contexts that begin the habit loop, identifying those and backing off from them just as they begin, we can gain the space to choose between harmful and helpful thoughts. And ideally, we can let go of the harmful ones and concentrate on or promote the helpful ones. So we can put our concentration toward calmly examining and reframing how we think about our problems, the situations that disturb us, and reduce unhelpful and hurtful ruminations. Here, we talked about the three-step habit loop with cue, routine, and reward. Here, we're just hacking that in the case of a negative habit. We recognize, we gain the mindfulness and just the calmness of mind. We gain that to recognize the cue. So this is just like the initiation of the routine. And then what we do is we begin training our mind to replace the unhelpful routine with a helpful one, whatever it might be. We'll have a meditation next week to do that. And then finally, we can be mindful of the reward, having replaced the unhelpful routine with the helpful one. We become mindful of the reward and then begin establishing a new habit loop. And if we can focus on doing this or concentrate on doing this in a consistent and directed way, so we can change our unhelpful habits of mind and reflexive emotional responses by overriding them with ones that better serve us. So that's kind of a little bit of the philosophy behind this type of meditation. I don't know, does anyone, I mean, I could only meditate in my mind. So I don't really have any sense of what's going on in your mind. So does any questions or maybe alternate viewpoints? Excellent. So we'll have a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll return to the mindfulness practical. Just go ahead and relax. I'll start up the clock. It'll take me a few seconds. See you soon. Well, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for coming back. Any like questions or comments, observations before we go on? That's just fine.
What is, Stephen, can I ask, what is your meditation routine?
Yeah, so I do sort of like combinations of prayers and meditations. So I kind of have like this routine that I do. So I will sit, takes about 20-25 minutes. I will sit and I do what's called a purification meditation. So it starts with, and this is more Buddhist focused. So I will sit and then I will do, and then I'll take refuge, which is a Buddhist perspective. And then I will remember the four immeasurables, which is a way of generating compassion. And then I'll kind of just do some perspective setting, I guess. This is like kind of one I've developed over the years. And then just look at, well, yeah, like what is life all about? The fortunate things we have in life, but also that life is going to come to an end. And so like, what is really going to matter when it comes to an end? And so I kind of generate that in my mind. And then sort of create a visualization of one of the Buddhist deities that is very helpful for purifying negative actions that I unavoidably do every day, just kind of stuff where I'm thoughtless or inconsiderate or whatever. And then so what I do then is I do a visualization where I sort of chant a mantra and sort of just clear my body. And then in the end, I go ahead, Jennifer.
Are you talking about Vajrasattva specifically?
You get 100% on the course. Yeah. So it's called the Vajrasattva, and that's the name of the deity. And so I'll clear downwards, upwards, and then sort of like just through my mind. And then I kind of sort of dissolve everything into what's called emptiness, which is sort of an advanced Buddhist idea. And then, well, it's kind of esoteric. We're not going to get into that. And then what I'll do is then I'll dedicate. So I actually go through the four major things where I calm the mind, I do a motivation, I do the actual meditation, the Vajrasattva, and then I do the dedication. And then after that, like I renew my Bodhisattva vows and I say the Heart Sutra. So it's crazy. I just made it up. And hey, that's just for me.
No, that's good to know. Thanks for sharing that.
All you have to do is just like sit and count your breaths, and that's just as good. Thank you for the question, Emily. Okay, well, let's get back into some meditation then. We're going to do the 9 rounds breathing exercise. So again, I'll just turn off my camera so there's no one staring at you, and you can just relax. And we'll do it a little bit. We're going to add one thing, and that is the visualization. So just sit and calm your mind. By now, we've done this a few times, and you can experiment, or you can go with one that you really like. Again, it's just sitting, scanning the body, just simply watching the breath or counting the breaths, whatever works for you here at this time. As you begin to relax again and settle the mind, make it more stable, maybe using the breath as the object of concentration, just think for a moment about your motivation here. You can choose whatever helps you. But you could think that you're meditating for your own individual benefit. No doubt about that. But you're also taking this time not only for your own individual benefit, but also to develop your mind so that you become a wiser and kinder person, which will have an immediately positive effect on all of those around you. That's a great motivation. So I'll start by giving you a visualization and see what you can do in order to create that visualization in your mind's eye. I'll give you the visualization, and then we'll do the 9 rounds breathing exercise. Again, if you remember, you start by closing the left nostril and breathing in through the right. Do that 3 times. Then close the right nostril and then breathing out through the left. And you can start that now, or you can listen to the visualization. Either way is great. So begin by visualizing 3 imaginary channels or tubes within your body through which your energy moves. So the channels are round and hollow, the size of a straw, and very fine, smooth, flexible, and luminous. The central channel is blue. So the one going down through the center of your body is blue. So and it starts at a point midway between the eyebrows, curves up and back along the inside of the skull. This is what you're visualizing or imagining. So it curves up and back along the inside of the skull, starting from between the eyebrows, kind of like the handle of an umbrella, and then down along the inside of the spine to a point 4 finger widths below the navel. So this would be your center. The right channel is red and runs from the right nostril. So red from the right nostril, back and then downward along the side, the right side of the central channel. That's the blue one. To end at the point 4 finger widths below the navel. That's the same place that it's ending. They're coming together there. And the left channel is white. It also runs from the left nostril down along the left side of the spine and also ends 4 finger widths below the navel. Just imagine that the channels, the 3 channels join together at this point 4 finger widths below the navel. So just focus on this for a moment. Again, the central one, starting from between the brows, going along the inside of the skull and then down the spine. That's the central one. The right channel is red. It goes back from your nostril and then down along your spine. And then it joins the blue one, the central channel, 4 finger widths below your navel. And then the left one is white. Goes back and down along the spine and joins the other 2, the blue and the red one, 4 finger widths below the navel. When you have that in your mind, and it's okay if it seems like too much to start with, you can still just do the 9 rounds breathing exercise, which is what we're going to do now. So holding the left nostril closed with an index finger, inhale slowly and fully through the right nostril. And now imagine that you're sending the breath all the way down to the end of the right channel. That's at your center. That's the red channel. Imagine the breath flows from the right into the left channel as you move your index finger to hold the right nostril closed. Now exhale slowly and fully through the left nostril. So just do that 3 times as best you can. You're just imagining the air is going in through your right nostril, red channel, going all the way down to your center, and then transferring over to the white channel on the left-hand side, going back up and coming out your left nostril. And do that a few times. Don't worry if it's hard to focus. Keeps your mind busy, or at least occupied. And now we just reverse the process. So you're holding the right nostril closed with your index finger and breathing in through the left. That's the white channel. The air is coming in, it's going down the white channel, it's going down to your center, and then it's transferring over to the red channel and going out the right nostril. So as the breath moves into the right channel, move your index finger to hold the left nostril closed. Exhale slowly and fully through the right nostril. As the breath leaves the right nostril, imagine that all impurities are expelled with the breath. And repeat that a number of times. When you're done there, we now breathe in through both nostrils. So what happens here is we inhale slowly and deeply through both nostrils, sending the air down through the right and left channels. So the air goes in through the nostrils, red is right, white is left, left is white, goes down, joins together, the incoming air joins together at the navel, or just below the navel rather, and then comes up the blue channel, the central channel. And then imagine any kind of impurities or just negative mental energy being expelled through the point between the brows. So as you exhale, imagine the breath is expelled up and out through the central channel, the blue channel. As you breathe out, imagine you are expelling all impurities out through the point between the two brows. And when you're done, just imagine that the three channels are now completely clean and luminous. So that is the 9 rounds breathing meditation, where we've combined the visualization with the breath pattern. What we'll do next is, if everyone is okay with that, we'll maybe go 5 minutes over. We're going to just jump into the next meditation. This meditation is called Meditation on the Mind Like the Sky. So again, relax a little bit. If you need to just move or squirm around in a long class, just do that and then begin sitting again and just stabilizing your mind. And just let me read this to you while you're doing that. And then we'll just go into the meditation on the mind like the sky. So while you're resetting, getting comfortable, getting the mind stabilized again after that rather elaborate visualization, I'll let you know this about the next meditation. And this is the preamble to it. In our ordinary perceptions, our thoughts and feelings seem to be all there is to our mind. One thought, feeling, image, or idea after another. All these mental contents seem to fill up our mind completely, as if our minds are small, finite containers, as if our minds are just merely the thought we're having now. But this is an illusion. It's a misperception on our parts. Our minds are vast and infinite, clear and spacious. Our minds have no boundaries, no limits. When we experience the vast, clear spaciousness of our mind, the clarity of our awareness, our knowing, we begin to see how our thoughts and feelings, those individual moments, one after another, how our thoughts and feelings are like clouds in the sky. The thoughts and feelings are the clouds. The mind is like the sky. Simply, the clouds simply pass through this vast, spacious awareness, not filling it up. Suddenly, we have some space from the endless attachments, aversions, and dissatisfactions of life. So as we calm our mind and just choose a motivation, maybe it could be curiosity. I want to find out, is my mind actually that way? We just begin by concentrating. So as you gain a deeper level of concentration and focus, just loosen your concentration slightly. This is what we did last week with the bare mindfulness exercise or bare attention exercise. Begin with concentration. When your mind is somewhat stable, to switch to a mindful mode where you're just watching. So allow your mind to be attentive and observant of whatever comes to your notice, regardless of what it is, it doesn't matter. Just don't identify with the mental elements arising. Just imagine those thoughts are like clouds appear in the sky. They appear, they arise, they change instant to instant, like a cloud if you watch it carefully. And then they vanish again, back into the air. Just simply observe all of these thoughts like a tourist. Allow them to arise as you observe them, and they pass away. Just don't get involved, just be aware. What do you notice? Now, just allow your mindful attention to expand, to encompass your entire sphere of experience of consciousness. See if you can forget there's an observer and something being observed. Simply imagine your experience, your consciousness, your awareness as being just like the sky. Completely clear, vast, spacious, without end. Like the sky, empty of clouds or clouds arising, changing, and subsiding again. Put the focus on the sky and pay less attention to the clouds. And see if you can feel clarity, spaciousness, and awareness. Our minds are clear and aware, spacious like the sky. When a thought or an emotion, an idea or an image or a sensation arises in your mind, just observe it. Let it arise, watch it change, let it pass. Each thought, each mental event is just like a cloud. And your mind is just like the sky. Concentrate on that experience of space and bliss. Whenever we identify with and are carried away uncontrollably by a thought or a feeling, kind of like we become obsessed with the clouds. Whenever that happens, we lose any awareness of the spacious clarity of our mind, of the vast, clear, and knowing nature of the mind, within which each thought or feeling occurs. When this happens, our perspective becomes small and constricted. It's as if all there is are clouds, just overcast all the time. We've lost the sky. We lose that wonderful open spaciousness. When we can simply observe these thoughts and feelings arising without getting involved, when we can identify with the sky instead of with the clouds, and we can reside in that spacious purity of our basic clarity of mind, calm, clear, peaceful, open spaciousness, without agitation, without delusions, without anxiety and distress, without dissatisfaction and attachments and aversions. Well, that ends the meditation. So we'll do a quick dedication. So dedicate all the positive energy we've created through this particular practice to becoming a better person, which is going to benefit you and, of course, all those around you. Well, that was meditation on the mind like the sky. There's another one in there. So if you're feeling if you live in the desert and you're feeling a little bit dried out, you can always meditate on the mind like the ocean. You know, you're missing the seaside and so on. There's that option too. And there's a handout for that. I like the sky though. I like the sky here in New Mexico. So are there any final questions or anything?
I don't have a question, but I really like the channels visualization, and that was very helpful with the 9-round breathing. And I did really like the sky meditation.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that, Jennifer.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And so what did you find helpful about the 9 rounds breathing meditation with the channels?
Well, I think it just helped me go deeper and just not be worried about the breathing, which also I think I do a little too fast, and then I feel a little lightheaded sometimes. But yeah, I like how it was more, it was bigger. It became a bigger meditation. And then it was more, I could feel it more throughout my whole body and not just out in and out of my nostrils.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that makes total sense. You know, senior meditators, I'm just a beginner, of course, but senior meditators like swear by it. Mm-hmm. They say they just go into that all the time. And yeah, and so it's got a few moving parts. So, you know, with our busy minds, maybe that's good actually.
Yeah, because now I kind of see it. Now I can't stop seeing the channel. So that'll help me do it all the time, whether I'm actually planning on doing it or not.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, thank you for your comment. Anyone else have anything? That's fine. All comments and questions are optional. So just if you wanted to do something for home practice, I would say, 5 minutes a day, just practice calming the mind and think about what I said in terms of habits and see if there's any established habits you might have that try and understand them that way, or see if you can use that information on how to strengthen your meditation habit. You might also want to try just doing the ocean meditation if the sky one didn't suit you. And so basically that's it. And so we'll wind up with a dedication. And again, we're also hacking the breath, or hacking the mind rather. We're hacking the mind and trying to build a habit. So we're going to appreciate and rejoice in the positive energy and insight that we created working together in this session. We got to work together, but hopefully we got to discover something about ourselves as well. And then we think about the progress we made towards the very worthwhile goal of becoming a better person, naturally to benefit ourselves, but also will end up benefiting all those around us. So we think about that progress we made along with the positive energy and insight. And then we just kind of go from that analytical mode to savoring the feeling, just the emotion of that, and just let it sink in for a moment, just like 30 seconds or something like that. And we just create this positive mental memory, which is the reward portion of the habit. All right, everyone. I did go over a little bit. I hope it wasn't any hardship on you. And if you ever do have to leave right on time, just go ahead, turn off the camera, do what you got to do. So thank you so much for coming back again.
Thank you.
Perhaps I'll see
Thank
you
you,
next
Stephen,
week. And
Nancy.
take care.
Thanks,
Yep.
Stephen.
Thanks, everybody.
Just imagine the like the ocean off the coast of Kauai or something. I don't know.